One of the two things that really drive being stuck is feeling burnout or feeling disconnected. But the thing about burnout is that you put in more input and you get the same results, which creates burnout, which creates being stuck.
Have you ever gone to a conference or an event and you see the other person, that one person who's running around the room and connecting with everyone, seems to know everyone and knows everyone's inside jokes somehow? Well, this episode is going to dive into how to become that person, because when it comes to it, growth and connections are actually the fuel to so much success that you might not even be aware of. So we want to make sure that you are well equipped, knowing what's going on in the brain when you become that person who is taking care and bringing curiosity into those relationships. Let's dive in. Welcome, everyone, to another episode. Today, I have Jack Hinman in here. He's a psychologist and co-founder of Engage Young Adult Transitions, a program in Utah designed to help young adults build connected, purposeful lives through clinical structure and community integration. So there's this really cool intersection of psychology and then also family systems. And we're going to be talking about what it takes to get out of being stuck. We're going to talk about this interesting dynamic of tough love, soft parenting, motivation. What does all of this actually mean when someone's maybe feeling a little bit stuck in what they're doing in their life? And Jack, you've also built out this company. So we want to hear a little bit about your story as well. So why don't you give us the short version, maybe like 2-minute version of how you got into this space and how you're doing what you're doing now?
For me, it's all been about relationships and connections. And I grew up in a pretty challenging home environment and really made some deep, meaningful friendships with buddies at high school, to the point that I followed them out west to Utah, from Tennessee to Utah. We still stay in great contact today. We're texting, we're calling. I'm actually doing a gravel bike race with one of these buddies in Arkansas here in May. So we're always trying to do big stuff. We stay connected. So our relationships all are very important. And the thread of friendship has been my driving force. It's been my thread. I'm the only child. I had to make my own family. And so I've got a lot of great friends that I've had at different paths of my development, like in high school and like my undergrad and then my grad school and then my married life, my professional life. I got some really close, key, deep friends along those different paths. And they're great people to go to for mentoring and coaching and just really figuring out life and having deep conversations on bike rides about your business, about your marriage, about raising kids. And so friendship has been my driving force. So I've really leveraged that skill set and that importance in my business, where it's all about connection and about building community and connection for young adults here. What gets me really excited about the work we do is seeing young adults thrive in connections.
I love that. And okay, there's going to be some interesting points that I like to kind of pull out and look at sort of the entrepreneurial side of what you just shared. You just gave them a huge tool, a huge tip. You're saying while you're on bike rides, you're sharing, you're coaching, and I just wanted to highlight that real quick, because I think so often people think that they need to be in this sort of educational environment that we were all raised in, which is like desk and I'm a student and then the teacher's right there. But really, so much of the education that can happen is through friendships and just doing other things, being active. And I'm curious, as a psychologist, like, how does that actually help your brain absorb and connect with the information or even the people if you're doing something physical while also talking and learning?
Yeah, for one thing, when you're walking or you're running or you're riding a bike, there's a lot of bilateral stimulation. You're using both parts of your brain while you're engaging in this task, while you're connecting. So you're very present. So it helps you be very present while biking, but also with people around you. And you're also having this very shared experience. Like, we're riding a new trail. I might fly over the handlebars and they have to pick up my bike for me, or vice versa. You're having these shared moments. And so cycling has been that thread. It's been friendships and bikes, and have been friends on bikes. And that's kind of how my life was revolved around that.
Hey,
I
that's going to be
even
your podcast, Friends on Bikes.
That's good. There we go. I love it. Yeah, we could talk, we can jump in a little bit about tech, about new technology with bikes and talk about bike experience
Mhm.
and talk about friendship. That's pretty rad. I totally could see myself doing that. Yeah, like I went on a bike ride a few weeks ago with a forensic accountant, and he was a friend of mine, and it was just I just loved hearing his cases and hearing about the relationships and learning about what he's doing. And so then I've been on bike rides where we've been pseudo therapists to each other and offering support about things in our lives. And so, no, it's like having that shared interest, those shared experiences helps maintain those connections.
And so I'm curious to hear a little bit about your upbringing. You also mentioned, you came from not a great upbringing, which kind of led you into this. And a lot of times, if you're a creator and entrepreneur, sometimes we're building the thing that we wish someone else built. I don't know if you ever felt that, but I'm curious to hear a little bit about, maybe some of the experiences you had. And was there ever a conversation or a moment, a relationship that had you plant this seed of the impact that you would be making in other lives like down the road?
It was a challenging home environment at times. And like my parents gave me a gift. Like I had to seek consistency and security and connection outside the home. And so I had to figure it out. I didn't have siblings. My parents kind of going through their own stuff, doing their own things. And so I really had to build that bridge and build those skills to really build those friendships and connections. And that's a skill set I have. I feel like one of my superpowers is connecting people. I get energized when I'm in groups of people. Like when I go to a conference, like I'm all over the place. Like there's Jack, he's like flying around, and my buddies make fun of me about it. They haze me about it, which is great. Like there's healthy hazing. Like this whole idea, there's like they don't bully me. They haze me because they care about me, and that's what
Mhm.
friends do. I don't think there's enough of that going on like in friendships and relationships today. And plus my personality, I put myself out there to get made fun of. I invite it, I bring it on just because I have this kind of I don't know, extroverted, colorful personality. It brings on like a lot of like hazing, which is great. And so, but no, my success of like my business today is from relationships. And it's really interesting. I have young adults that are very cognitive capable, very intellectually capable, are doing well in school, and they really had trouble understanding that no matter what profession you're in, if you're in computer coding or an accountant managing spreadsheets, you're going to have to interface with people. And the people who are the most successful in their line of work is based on how well they can connect. What's their network look like? And trying to help young people understand that, really understand the value of relationships and connection. Yeah, like your success is going to be really limited or be based on being successful based on your power of your relationships.
Would you also say potentially that their ability to be successful might also be related to their ability to withstand hazing?
Yeah, yeah, or how to haze. I hate to say it that our culture really is lacking resiliency. Like we're
Mhm.
lacking healthy resiliency around that. And once again, I'm not advocating to bully people. I'm not advocating calling people's names. But like for example, my friends like joking around, or even my family kind of jokes around with me too. Like one of the employees here came like ran across my son. And he's like, if your dad was going to be an animal, what would he be? He was like, he'd be a monkey. And my son was able to answer that really quickly. I was like, that's probably pretty true. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
having like ego strength, having the skills, because there's when it comes to
Mhm.
like joking with your buddies, you need social pragmatic skills, which means is that I got to understand the nonverbal context within the content. So, like
Mhm.
having a lot of young people are struggling with understanding or like understanding social context, understanding and picking up the like the pragmatics of communication. A lot of young folks came through COVID where they lacked a lot of opportunity and are still lacking the opportunity to learn skills about connecting and how to joke with people, how to be funny, how to be hilarious, how to haze a little
Yeah.
bit.
I love this conversation so much. I'm like you and my husband. I could have just see you two in a room or in a conference together. You guys would be, it would be a whole crazy mess. And a lot of the business that we've gotten, our whole business that we've grown and has come from these types of relationships. If you're loving this conversation and it's sparking something inside of you, maybe it's time to share your own voice with the world. That's exactly why we created the Podcast Accelerator, to help leaders like you go from hidden to heard with a podcast that connects, inspires, and actually grows your business. We launched together in just a few months, and you'll have the system, support, and strategy to keep scaling and growing. Doors are open now, so the link to apply is in the show notes. We cannot wait to see you in there. I love that you're kind of breaking down what you're seeing societally, because it's just something that we very much have lived out. And I think why people get attracted to us, because we like to play and fun is our top value for our company and in our family. And so I'm curious out there for anyone that might be listening, that might be thinking, well, Ray, like, that's why I love you, because you're that person. Or Jack, like, you're that person for me. I'm not that person. Can you give them some tips or tools on how can they become a better hazer, or get into that playful state? And I mean, you just brought such science-backed words that I'm like, I don't even know what that was, but it sounded really cool, and I want to go look it up and re-listen to this. I'm sure a lot of my listeners will want to as well. But can you explain or share with us, like, how does a normal person do more of what you just said, like the cognitive awareness and all of those pieces?
You have to be really genuinely, authentically curious about people. You got to be really curious about them, like curious about how they tick, curious about what they're into. I'm super curious about other people. I'm super curious about what they listen to, what music they're listening to, what podcasts they're into, what books they're reading. Like, what are they into? What's their thing that gets them fired up in the day? And like hearing them talk about it, like I was super curious about forensic accounting. Like, I was on this bike ride trying to figure. I was like riding my bike, trying to understand the nuances about it, and understanding like it was fascinating. Just being really curious, being present with people, like where first off, our health is dependent on our connections. Like, our longevity is dependent on our connections. And when you really make that like human contact, you're co-regulating, like your brains are becoming connected. There is like attachment neurotransmitters that are going off that's good for your brain, oxytocin, all those things are happening. You're connecting with people. We all know, like, we've been in that moment where like you run into somebody and you kind of get lost of time. Like, you're just, oh my gosh, where did time go? We like an hour later, we're talking about your kids and about your work and everything else. I think it's just really, really being curious, really understanding the value of our health, and learning just to let go of your agenda in the conversation. Put your phone in your pocket is a good start in that space. Of course, basic skills like eye contact. I think just really being curious about like what gets that person excited. And that's what I get excited here. I love hearing people talk about their passions about forensic accounting. So
Totally. You hit two things here. You said it's just basic. It's like eye contact, put your phone down. But you also said earlier there's a whole generation of people, of kids that were raised during the shutdown and lockdown. So maybe that basic information isn't so basic anymore. And so I think it's something that we need to reteach ourselves and learn. And as someone who's been also, I've had an online business for over 15 years. So I'm very much in my phone and computer, and that's how I've lived. And so I've had to reteach myself, new patterns, and realize these things are actually created to be addictive. And so we need to stop these things that feel really natural. It feels good to, like, scroll through social media and all this stuff. And you have to have some type of level of awareness to say, I'm actually not going to do what has been patterned to happen over and over again, and actually take this time and become a better listener, and become someone that is more curious. I want to go into this piece around being stuck. A lot of people talk about being stuck, and this is entrepreneurs talk about being stuck, kids talk about being stuck, people that are just working a a 9 to 5, talk about being stuck. I'm curious your perspective on being stuck and what does it actually take to get unstuck?
Yeah, I think first off, you need to really figure out what's driving being stuck. It can be related to burnout. It can be related to lack of connection. Probably like one of the two things that really drive being stuck is feeling burnout or feeling disconnected. The thing about burnout is that you put in more input and you get the same results, which creates burnout, which creates being stuck. So being emotionally drained really is impacting your brain. Like being stuck means you're not maybe really fully accessing your resources, like intellectually about accessing information, like being stuck. Like you hear about writer's block a lot, like having writer's
Mhm.
block, which might be really similar to being stuck. And so the thing is, I think everything has to be intentional. You have to be disciplined about everything. And I think sometimes like being stuck can be really to being burnout by due to maybe having a chaotic work system or work habits. And then a lot of times is being disciplined about fun, being disciplined about taking time off, being intentional about your day. Because also too, feeling burnout means that you're feeling out of control. Like you're feeling like the work is controlling you versus the work, you're controlling the work. So a lot of times is maybe having discipline around that. So you feel like you got control. When you feel like you got control, you're more regulated. When you're more regulated, then you're also feeling like you're utilizing your frontal lobe more. But a lot of times people who are like entrepreneurs, people who are running businesses get so caught up in the day to day, they don't really build in time to connect. Are they connecting with their customers? Are they connecting with their employees? Are they connecting with their family? Are they connecting with your friends? And you really need to be intentional about how you show up. Because when you feel connected, you feel motivated. When you feel motivated, you're going to find the answers that are getting you stuck. So I
Mhm.
really think it
Wow,
goes down
that
to,
was so good.
yeah.
Mhm. So, so good. And Jack, I mean, you've absolutely blessed us with such a wealth of knowledge here. I want to just take a moment for any listeners to go find Jack, go connect with him. We're going to have all of his links down below in the show notes. And I would like to say, I think there's so many takeaways in this conversation. Write down one that you're going to commit to. Maybe it's as simple as I'm going to make more eye contact this week, or I'm going to go on a bike ride and go for a bike ride with a friend or someone I've been wanting to connect with. Just make sure that you do write down and take action from these episodes. That's what I'm always saying. And we have these incredible guests on here. Make sure it's not just information that's coming into your mind, but take a moment to allow this to transform and change your life. One little thing from this episode can be transformative. Jack, is there anything else that you want to share or say with our audience?
Yeah, I think never undervalue the role of relationships. When it comes down to life, the most important thing in life is relationships. And it could be fuel to your fire is feeling connected. So find ways to be connected. Find ways to be connected in your field. Find ways to be connected with your family, with your kids, no matter if they're like 2 or they're 30 years old. Be intentional. Be intentional about your relationships, and finding time and connection and intention outside of work will help fill your belly to have the force and the energy to show up work powerfully. So connection.
Oh, good. Well, thanks, Jack, so much for being on here. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks for listening to Miracle Moment. Share the episode, hit follow, and join us every Thursday for prayer and activation. For more tools to rise into your God-given mission, visit rayireland.com. See you next week.